Here's a story of well-meaning, educated, thoroughly honest people coming in government. Delhi model of governance has emerged as a brand new model of governance. A true roadmap has emerged that can empower our people, but at the same time, it provides a roadmap to become a resilient, a stronger economy. For the first time in independent India, here's a model of governance that prioritizes investing in the masses, in the people of India. When Aam Aadmi Party came to power, it was about we will change the grammar of governance. The story of the Delhi model is the story of success. That despite all of this, you have a government which has the political will and the right priorities, and that is why this has turned into reality. We have defined Ram Rajya. We've actually said that there are 10 tenets of Ram Rajya. And for us, Ram Rajya is building a country that all of our people and citizens have equal right.
Today, we are with someone who, though not a founding member of the Aam Aadmi Party, or an MLA, or an MP, or a minister, is in many ways seen as important as them, or maybe a notch more, and a close confidant of party chief Arvind Kejriwal. Welcome to the Hindu, Jasmine.
Thank you, Nikhil.
So, Jasmine Shah has been associated with the Aam Aadmi Party from 2015. He has an undergraduate degree from IIT Madras and a master's degree in public administration from Columbia University. So, Jasmine has been the vice chairman of Delhi Dialogue Commission from 2018 to 2024. So, DDC is a think tank of the Delhi government and has been closely working with the implementation and the framing of many of the policies. The reason why we are with him today is his new book, The Delhi Model, which loosely translates to the model of governance that is followed by the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. So let's dig in, and Jasmine will be able to tell us more about it. First question I want to ask you, Jasmine, is before we start more into the book and what Delhi model means and everything, what was your journey? How did you end up from academic background to the Aam Aadmi Party?
As you mentioned, I had completed my engineering at IIT Madras, and after that I started working in the corporate sector. But I think within 3 years I got disillusioned, both in terms of the corporate life, but more I felt quite disheartened to see the state of our governance. Companies in India were trying to meet global standards. This was the time of the IT revolution. I was living in Bangalore. But at the same time, if you look at the state of our governments and governance, we resemble a third world country. Basic issues, 24 by 7 electricity, water, schools, healthcare.
I think
everything.
Part of it you have mentioned in your book also.
I've written that in my preface, that my journey began there, and I felt that probably part of the reason, it's good to blame from outside as a middle class citizen saying that ye log sare chor hain, politicians are no good. But then why are you not trying to be a part of the system? And I wrestled with that question, I remember, in my mind for almost 2 years. And it was not an easy decision, but I gave up my corporate life, started working in the development sector on issues of governance. I started working with non-profits earlier in Bangalore. Then I joined the Jameel Poverty Action Lab, JPAL, which is headquartered at MIT. I set up that policy office in India. And over 10 years, I tried to understand why are we not able to solve these governance problems? Is this a issue of not having the right solutions? Is this unsolvable? Because sometimes it seems from outside कि बहुत मुश्किल है. Maybe government should not be running schools. Maybe government should not be running hospitals. सब कुछ privatize करो. Because there is a huge lobby in India, and I would say even the current thinking in the Niti Aayog is to privatize even these essential public services. But when through my decade-long association with the development sector, I realized that many countries are actually able to solve these problems. And definitely, it's not just the design of policies, but it is the kind of people who are in politics who can set the new standards. And I make a case that, I believe that you do need educated, well-meaning people in public life. Not just obviously all our IS officers are educated, but you need people at the decision-making table, which is the politicians. And when the Aam Aadmi Party was formed, I talk about my first interaction with Manish Sisodia ji.
It was in 2015.
In 2015. And he had just become the education minister, the government was just formed, and in his first budget, he announced that I'm going to double the education budget. For decades, and that's one of the reasons of writing this book also, that for decades we have been hearing since independence that India does not invest too much in health and education. Hamare sarkari school are broken and healthcare system is broken, and why aren't government spending this money? But here we see a government coming to power on this bold promise of Vyavastha Parivartan. You know, when Aam Aadmi Party came to power, it was about we will change the grammar of governance. It was not about saying we will launch this scheme or that scheme. We will change how governance used to be done in India. And when they came, they actually made these announcements. So I reached out to them, I met them, started working professionally as part of the organization I was. But over the course of a year, I really felt the fact that they are very serious and there is an urgency to actually sort these issues out. And that is how my transition happened. I was invited by Mr. Sisodia to be part of his team. So I started working as an advisor, a policy advisor to the Deputy Chief Minister. And in 2018, I was appointed to this position, after which I started working with Mr. Kejriwal and the entire cabinet of Delhi government.
Okay. For you, what is at the core of, when you say Delhi model, or as the Aam Aadmi Party claims, the Delhi model of governance, what is at the core of it, or what does it mean for you?
See, the Delhi model of governance, and I make the case in this book, is for the first time in independent India, here's a model of governance that prioritizes investing in the masses, in the people of India, by building their human capital, by strengthening or empowering the lower and the middle classes to actually perform or, perform at a higher level. And by that I mean providing world-class education to every child, to every Indian, right? And how does that happen? That can only happen if you reform the entire government school system. Providing world-class healthcare to each and every Indian. It's not easy to do it. We have been talking about it. A lot of policies have been framed, but no government seems to be willing to spend on it. One is spending on it. You not had even the will to spend on it. Second is to actually have a credible roadmap, a blueprint to reform a government-wide healthcare system. Aam Aadmi Party government has done this to provide 24/7 electricity, cheap electricity, free electricity, to provide piped water supply to all our citizens, sewage services, to provide world-class public transport. See, these are the measures. If you think about how do we imagine a developed country, right? I mean, I'm sure you've traveled abroad, I have traveled abroad. These are the basic markers of a developed nation. Quality government-funded education and healthcare. Electricity flowing 24/7, water flowing 24/7, clean water from your taps. For some reason, we have stopped even talking about these things, in India. And probably that is why, because, parties have come and gone and they have been talking about this endlessly, but 75 years of independence, we don't see one state. I mean, if we think about one BJP or Congress ruled state, the two big national parties, have they fixed these fundamental issues in even one state in 75 years? They haven't. And I make the case here that Delhi model of governance has emerged as a brand new model of governance and a distinct model, because we have fixed these issues in Delhi to a large extent. I'm not saying everything has been done, but a true roadmap has emerged that can empower our people, but at the same time, it provides a roadmap to become a resilient, a stronger economy. And it's I think the mixing of both, that, you're not just working on empowering your lower and the middle classes, providing them some essential services for free as well, but it is also a roadmap for economic revival, because you cannot prosper as a nation if your people are uneducated, if your people are unhealthy, if you're not investing in their education. And I think that is what makes it a model of governance rather than just a loosely strung list of few schemes or initiatives.
Okay. In your book, you talk about, what are the main three pillars of the Delhi model, and you go on and talking about it, the investing in human capabilities, war on corruption, and fiscal prudence. But you also talk about, how the opposition sees, the Delhi model as freebies, free politics, and you then go on and say that nothing can be far away from the truth. But you also then say that, this freebies or the welfare schemes, which is even called reveries, even by the CM, these are one of the pillars of the Delhi model, right?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And I think we are not saying that the Delhi model does not believe in providing free, essential public services to the ones who most need it. Okay? It is not, at the end of the day, if, for example, the free electricity is for 200 units, full subsidy, and partial subsidy up to 400 units. If you see the upper middle or rich classes, they don't consume less than 400. They consume more than that. Even the water is up to a limit. Yes, the free bus rides for women is for all women, because we believe that women have, like, there's a huge gender gap that exists in our society, and all women really deserve that. But the reason why we believe in giving these is because there is a huge inequality in this nation, and if you see that it is only through continuous provision of some support or some services will we be able to bridge this inequality. And I think that is where our belief in, the freebies come from. But is this the only? I think the problem is when opponents try to say aapka bas yahi model hai. Let me give you one statistic. Sum total of all our free schemes in Delhi is 8% of our budget. 40% of our budget is spent on education and healthcare alone. And I think that one statistic tells you that, yes, we are able to provide these free benefits because we take pride in the fact that we are a honest government. We've been able to grow our revenues because we have cracked down on corruption. We've made sure that there's no tax evasion. I talk about our taxation reforms and stuff. So जो पैसा बचता है, whatever we are saved, we are actually investing in people. But at the same time, we are not doing this at the cost of not investing in essential sectors. So we are investing, today we are making record investments in education. We are making record investments in healthcare. We have built infrastructure at a pace far better and far higher than all the previous governments. I mean, one data point. In the last 10 years, we have laid more than 10,000 kilometers of water pipelines in Delhi. We have laid more than 4,500 kilometers of sewer lines. 1/3 of Delhi lives in these unauthorized colonies. Most of the people coming to Delhi will not go there, So they come to Lutyens Delhi.
Essentially what you're claiming is that, that the Aam Aadmi Party's governance, these freebies have been not at the cost of other developmental projects.
Yeah, and freebies, apart from empowering these people, there is a very important angle to these freebies, that at the end of the day, giving these freebies to the lower and middle classes is a way to create demand in the economy, because when you give some money in the pocket of the poor, they are going to spend it because they need it. They need it for their daily survival. Now let's contrast it with what is the other line of thinking, like, because BJP is typically the one who's most aggressive about it.
I'm coming to that actually. I've marked that point in the
because it's not that all governments, my case is all governments provide freebies. The choice is, do you give freebies to big corporates by giving them loan waivers, tax cuts, big schemes where you're giving thousands and thousands of crores of free money to the industrialists and the capitalists, or do you invest it in the people and strengthen the economy? I think that is the distinction that I make.
Okay. You talk about different sectors in your book, like education, healthcare, transport, and how the Delhi model sort of works in different sectors. So, but if you want to pick and talk about one sector in which the impact is felt the most, or in which you think that, hey, this is the Delhi, can be a representation of the Delhi model, what would it be? And can you just elaborate?
It is difficult, Nikhil, because I really feel that the scale of work, because I'll tell you the trouble with that is, normally people admit and that nahi, education mein kuch kaam hua hai Delhi mein, right? But a lot of the time, and it's a sorry state of our media that, we're not able to get into the nuances of these reforms and discussions most of the time. But I actually believe that the amount of work that AAP has done in these 6 key sectors, which all of these sectors touch the lives of the people on a daily basis. So I talk about education, I talk about health, I talk about transport, I talk about air pollution, I talk about electricity, and I talk about water. And I make the case that the scale of the reform and the transformation that has happened in all of these sectors has not been seen in any Indian state in the last 70 years. So we can pick any sectors. I don't want to say कि one sector में बहुत ज़्यादा काम हुआ है, कम हुआ है. For that matter, we can pick the issue of air pollution, because that is one issue that people, at least outside Delhi, would normally they hear about air pollution only when the pollution index goes off the charts and they feel, oh, Delhi is the most polluted and nobody seems to be doing anything. But I make the case here that, and this is central government's data, that over the last 10 years the average PM 2.5 level in Delhi throughout the year has reduced by around 40 to 45%. No Indian city has seen this kind of a decline. How has that happened? Because Delhi government has found the resolve and the political will and the budget to take initiatives that no government in northern India has. We've shut down all our thermal power plants. We have migrated all our industries to clean pipe natural gas.
I just wanted to interrupt you here. That was one of the points I wanted to ask you, is that you have said in your book that has come down by 40 or 45% in a decade. But if you look at the average PM 2.5 levels of 2023, this is analysis done by CSE, which can be
I cite CSE analysis.
Yeah. But I'm saying this is a 2023 analysis in which they said the PM 2.5 level in 2023 is 2% higher than the 2022 level.
Yeah.
And there is a stagnation happening. I mean, it sort of peaked in 2015-17 and then it's sort of stagnant, and there's a slight increase last year. This year, we have not calculated the annual levels yet, but I'm presuming that compared to the severe, the pollution we have faced in November and December, it might be slightly on the upper side or again stagnating on that level.
Yeah, no, so that's true. So the case that I'm making in this book also, and which is, see, over the last 10 years, there has been a substantial decrease. The last 2 or 3 years, it seems like we are petering out. Now we need to do a next generation of reforms for further reduction to happen. And that's precisely what I was about to say. What has happened in the last 10 years, and most of these actions were taken in the first 5 to 7 years of the last 10 years. So AAP has shut down its power plants. We have moved all our industries to clean fuels. We have increased our green cover. AAP provides 24/7 electricity, so there are no diesel generator sets. We have radically improved our public transport system. We were 6,000 buses. Today we are at around 8,000 buses. And we are inching towards 10,500 buses towards the end of next year. Today we have 2,000 electric buses running in Delhi alone, which is the highest in India and third highest in the world. If you go immediately outside Delhi, not even a single electric bus. The point that I'm making is that Delhi has done a lot of things, but the nature of the problem of air pollution we need to understand. And there are multiple studies that I cite that the air that we breathe in Delhi, out of the total pollution in Delhi, only 30%, one third is contributed by sources within Delhi.
It's an airshed approach,
So the problem is 70% of the pollution is coming from outside Delhi. Delhi has taken a lot of measures which everybody and experts have been advocating. Now, if you want to see further reduction in pollution, when do we start asking the question of the remaining 70% pollution? And that is where the Prime Minister of India needs to step in, needs to take a regional approach, needs to bring all the 4 states together on the common table. All the remaining states also need to start taking actions that Delhi has taken 10 years back, which still today they have not taken. Not a single power plant has been shut down or restrained outside Delhi. Not a single electric bus brought in. Public transport is in tatters when you go outside Delhi. And Prime Minister for the last 10 years have never spoken once on pollution. And that is the problem. And I talk about the road. See, my purpose of writing this book is also to give a longer term roadmap for reform at the national level. This is a book of hope and optimism, because most of the people have become very cynical. I think especially in the middle class that, governments typically don't manage to achieve much. There's a lot of wastage, but here's a story of well-meaning, educated, thoroughly honest people coming in government, managing to achieve outcomes that mostly people thought governments could not achieve. But I also give a measure of where are the shortcomings and what more needs to be done. And on the matter of air pollution, as you said, we have stagnated last 1 or 2 years because we see zero seriousness and zero action at the national level.
Okay. You also mentioned about, when I asked you which sector you like the most, is that education is one sector which has won a lot of praise. And there is that, like you also mentioned, there is that impression that, hey, education, there is some work that has happened, at least some work that has happened. So what has worked for you in education?
See,
because if you talk about, if it's a model, it should work in different departments the same way. But education seems to be, even while talking to other people within the Aam Aadmi Party also, first thing they would say is education. They will start with education.
No, it is. So that's what I think so far, one of the things that I have tried to do is, I have tried to make the case that it is not just the education. There are many other things that we have managed to reform. Now in education, yes, it has been miraculous. And I'll not undersell education only from the point that it's been talked about a lot. That's why I wanted to spend less time. But if you look at education, we are today the only government that has consistently spent around a quarter of its budget on education in the last decade. Throughout Indian history, not a single government has managed to spend as much. And if you look at Gujarat, or if you look at many other states, they spend between 12 to 14% of their budget for decades. What have we managed to achieve? I'll give you 2-3, because there's a story of reform. I think probably not everything we'll speak about. There's a long chapter on education, but I'll tell you about some markers. government schools in Delhi, like in every other part of the country, were known for underperforming. You know, that class 10th, class 12th results were not great. For the last 10 years, consistently, the class 12 board results of Delhi government schools have been better than the private schools, and both of these are CBSE. For the first time, we are today hearing about stories that a government school system is continuously sending hundreds of children to IIT, JEE and NEET. Last year's example I'll give you, around 500 students in Delhi government schools cleared IIT, JEE mains, and 1400 students cleared NEET examination.
I get it. This has been talked about by the Aam Aadmi Party government in its different press conferences also.
And
my question is, what is working for you in education?
What have we done? You're saying what have we done?
Yeah, what is working essentially? You know, when you say Delhi model, and in particular in education, what you did or what kind of intervention is really working for you?
Now there are 3 or 4 major categories of interventions that we made that has actually resulted in this transformation. Number 1, we have invested in infrastructure. I will not underplay the role of infrastructure, because typically when you enter a government school, what do you see? It's like everything is broken, toilets are stinking. The first decision that we made is that irrespective of whatever money that it takes, we will change the face of government schools, because it is not just about having nice pictures. It's a question of dignity. See, an education system is a system of individuals. If you look at which department of government has the most number of employees, it's actually the education system. We had a system of 55,000 teachers, principals, 18 lakh children. So how can you talk to them about excellence if they are sitting under a fan that can fall anytime, or a window that is broken, or toilets that are not functioning? So we reformed and we've transformed. Today with confidence, we say to anybody who's coming to Delhi, walk into any of our government school and you will feel proud that this is the kind of a government school that at least one state in India offers. Number 2, we have invested in teacher training. Okay, for the first time in India, a state government has sent its principals and teachers abroad for training, because not just the best in India, we send them to some of the best institutions in India, but we believe that our principals and teachers should be inspired from the best education systems in the world. We've sent our folks to Finland, Cambridge, Singapore, and these kind of systems which are known for it. Number 3, we have made the parents of government school students an integral part of the reforms that are happening. Today, Delhi government has this body of school management committees, SMCs, which is a body of parents who get involved in running the government schools. So if the teaching is not happening, parents can actually take it up with their principals and get it resolved. We give them a budget to make small investments in their schools so that students can learn better. And 4th and final is the curricular reforms. I talk a lot of how we managed to improve the basic numeracy. Normally, most government schools or Indian children, I would say in general, one of the biggest learning deficits is not some advanced mathematics and all, but basic mathematics, numeracy and reading skills. Pratham survey talks about it. So we came up with programs, Mission Bunyad, Mission Chunauti, to deal with that. We came up with innovative curriculums like happiness curriculum, entrepreneurship mindset curriculum, Deshbhakti curriculum, which, so going beyond just employability, how does the school system create better citizens for the nation, promote better human values? So those are a complete category of reforms called curricular reforms. So broadly, these 4 sections is how you can think of it. The details are all there, and it's something which we take a great pride in, that today Delhi's government school system, we proudly say it's not just the best government school system in the world. Our aspiration is to become one of the top government school systems in the world. And that's where we are talking to many of these leaders globally. We invite them to our schools, we go to their schools. So we are very I would say upbeat about where we can take this next as well.
In your book also, while talking about the Delhi model, you say one of its pillars is the fiscal prudence.
Yeah.
And this has been what we have been seeing in the last 10 odd years, that the Aam Aadmi Party has been saying that despite doing all these things, we have a revenue surplus.
That's right.
This is what I think Atish once went to the UN and also talked about this. So this has been a key point of the Aam Aadmi Party. But over the years, the revenue surplus of the Delhi government is coming down. And for the first time, it's projected to become revenue deficit. Also, on the other hand, the fiscal deficit is also tiny, it's going up only, it's not going down. So when you talk about fiscal prudence, which these 2 key indicators sort of showing that the economy of Delhi is sort of getting into the red, how, feasible is, the Delhi model of governance?
So first let me tell you and assure you that we are far away from being in red. Okay, most governments, and I'll give you a measure of what is the fiscal deficit of the union government, because there is a sense of comparative
Delhi,
sense that we need to have.
I say this is the rider that Delhi, the debt to GSDP ratio is the lowest or one of the lowest in the country.
No, it is the lowest, and I'll come to that. But my point is that this year the union government presented a budget of 2024-25 of around 45 lakh crore. 15 lakh crore was the fiscal deficit. 1/3 of the budget was being funded through loans. So we are talking about that as the benchmark. Now, even in Delhi government, let's say if there is a minor fiscal deficit, it is a blip. It means nothing. It is 0.01 decimal point. The way to look at the debt or the fiscal situation of any government is, as you correctly said, what is your total debt to the GSDP ratio? And on that front, Delhi is at 3.9%, which is by far the lowest in India. Not just that, 10 years back, when we took it on, the fiscal deficit of Delhi government was around 7%. We brought it down to 3.9%. So, now the average for, let's say, Gujarat is around 18 to 20%. In Madhya Pradesh, it is around 35%. And there are many states who are also in 40%.
I agree. I completely agree that, it's still very low. But are we walking into a dangerous territory?
We are not. I can assure you that, see, a lot of these schemes, the reason why Aam Aadmi Party is able to implement a lot of these schemes is because we have done a lot of careful planning. We know what is the rate of growth of our budget. And not all the schemes, free electricity did not come on day one. It came in the 5th year. Free water came on the 1st year. Free bus rides for women came in the 5th year. Now the scheme of unconditional cash transfers for women is coming in the 10th year. So, based on what our fiscal budget is allowing us, we are introducing more initiatives and more pro-people like reforms and schemes. So we are very confident that none of these measures are going to, red is a very far term. Red is what I would say many other states were above 20-25% of debt to GDP. We are far above that, and we are very confident that we'll continue to grow revenues and create that space. And because we are we have declared this war on corruption, and we are able to manage and spend this money very, I would say, efficiently, which is the case that I make in this book. So we are very confident that we will go ahead and fulfill all the promises that we have made for the future.
The scheme you just mentioned, the 1,000 rupees cash transfer to women above 18 years. So the cabinet just passed that decision. It's not yet implemented. Yeah. But even that, the finance department has raised this as an objection that it's risky and we might end up being in the revenue deficit comparing the outlay of the scheme.
I must say that, and I think one of my chapters in the book talks about how the bureaucracy of Delhi at many times works at cross purposes with the elected government. And part of the thing is because the BJP under the center has completely wrestled control of the bureaucracy in a completely unconstitutional manner, which India has never seen. That under an elected government, the bureaucracy will not report to the chief minister, but will report to a third entity. The reasons why these notes and these comments are made is to create media hype. Nothing. This is sheer politics in the name of a bureaucrat's note, which has no legs at all. Because that bureaucrat never pointed out what is the... They are saying that, oh, if you implement this one scheme, then Delhi will go into debt. Okay. But other states of BJP, which have 5 lakh crore debt, 3 lakh crore debt, are happily implementing this scheme. So there's no sense of... a first year economics student will shred that argument. So I'm not going to spend more time on it. These are all notes moved with a motivated purpose. We don't bother about responding to it because at the end of the day, people of Delhi know that what the AAP government has promised, they have always implemented. Yes, sometimes because of this kind of center Delhi issues, it may take a little longer. But the story of the Delhi model is the story of success. That despite all of this, you have a government which has the political will and the right priorities. And that is why this has turned into reality.
Okay. In the book, you also makes a comparison between the Delhi model and the Gujarat model. And I caught the fetish for GDP numbers and glossy infrastructure projects as the primary markers of progress. You're saying that, that's what the Delhi model rejects and this is what the Gujarat model stands for. But are you saying that, we don't need, if you are weighing, what is needed, spending on this welfare schemes versus infrastructure, where do you strike the balance or how do you place one over the other?
No, no, you don't need to place one over the other. I feel that you have to do a fair amount of all. My point, and I think let me just frame my argument well. The entire economic model and approach of the BJP is that we need to show headline GDP growth as the only number that matters. Forget about whether our children are studying well. Forget about whether our children are malnourished, not malnourished, stunted. Doesn't matter at all. Show some bullet train project, show some fantastic new flyover, and show some GDP numbers, and the government's job is done. And that is the problem that I have with it. That a government and the let's also put the story of Gujarat model in context, because yes, Gujarat is perhaps the fastest growing state in the country and for some time, but Gujarat has one of the worst indicators as far as health, social and everything else is concerned. So I'll give one or two examples. And Gujarat model, by the way, is now a story of 30 years. It's not 10 years that you can say then health sudhrega aage jaake. Do you know that 40 percentage of children in Gujarat are malnourished? Gujarat ranks at number 2 in terms of all states in India of malnourished children. If you look at the education parameters, half of the children in Gujarat do not study beyond 10th standard. They do not go to higher secondary. Half. In Delhi, that number is 95%. Average of India is 60%. Gujarat is even below the average. Education, minimum wage. In minimum wage, in the last 10 years, the minimum wage in Gujarat has increased only from around 7,000 to 9,000 rupees. In Delhi, it has doubled. Delhi today has the highest minimum wage in India. Let's look at inflation. Now we talk about some economic indicators as well. In inflation, Delhi today is at 2.2, 2.3%, which is the lowest in India. Gujarat is above the national average at around 5%. The average wage, so minimum wage is one thing, the average rural wage in Gujarat is around 270 rupees. In Kerala, it is 700. Gujarat ranks, I think, around 18 out of 20 states in the average wage a person earns. So this Gujarat model is nothing but you give huge sops. Today, if you are a factory of a big multinational, yes, it makes sense to go in Gujarat. Why? Because you get land almost free. You get huge tax cuts. You get everything. But you don't need to even employ people. These are very capital intensive industries. And all this money is taken, mind you, from the government budget, which could have gone to healthcare, education. You know, there are 19,000 teacher vacancies in Gujarat. You will find 10 to 12,000 schools in Gujarat which are operating under tin sheds. So that is the problem. In Delhi, and I'll just complete at that. In Delhi, we are saying that a government needs to strike a balance, right? You cannot ignore. If you want long-term prosperity for your economy, how can that happen without skilling or investing in health and education? And Delhi has shown that while we have done that, today Delhi's inflation numbers are low. Delhi's unemployment numbers are one of the lowest in the countries. We are at around 1.8, 1.9%. Average in India is 3.5%. And Delhi's economy is growing at par or close to where the national average is. So this is the difference. I am saying that Delhi model has transformed the lives of the Aam Aadmi of Delhi while creating a resilient economy. And that is the model that the rest of the country needs to follow.
You say in your book that, and I got you, that it is not my intention to claim that everything has been fixed in Delhi in all or even a single sector. I found it very interesting because, you know, this is something that can be a point of friction, right? When you say that, hey, we have a Delhi model and we have fixed this, but there's still going to be gaps.
Yeah.
And your education model you talked about. Another model that I think is the second chapter in your book is the healthcare model.
Yes.
So what we have witnessed during COVID was also a complete crashing of the healthcare system in Delhi. I mean, despite the government was in power by that time for 5 years, I guess.
Yeah.
So even at that time, this is something that we had reported back then also, that in 2021, at least 3 of the AAP ministers, including the then sitting health minister, went to a private hospital when they had COVID. So what is not working for the health model, you know, or what is not working for you in the healthcare sector?
Yeah. So let me first contextualize that during COVID, not just Delhi, the entire countries and globally, whichever countries were worst affected by COVID, their healthcare systems crashed. Because nobody imagined that a situation will arise where overnight you will need thousands and thousands of beds, you know, oxygen availability. Nobody had any provision for medical oxygen. So it was once in a generation, once in a century kind of a crisis, and nobody predicted it. I would not say even Delhi was ready for it. what is it that Delhi had to do or should be doing? I would say, and I talk about the fact that, see, Mohalla clinics is primary care. At the time of COVID, if you had lesser symptoms, you could get treated at home. There was home isolation. The problem was in tertiary care, that when you actually fell very ill, you needed to go to a hospital system. And I've talked about the fact that in Delhi over the last 10 years, see, some of these are, I would say, historical backlogs. In Delhi's government hospitals, we had only around 9,500 beds for a population of around 2 crore people. In 10 years, we have managed to increase it to 13,500. So around 40-45% increase in just 10 years versus what was built in the previous 60-65 years. We already have a plan in motion to increase this. So from around 14,000 beds, we will reach to 30,000 beds. There are 16,000 beds under construction right now. So when AAP came to power in 2015, we were at 10,000 beds. We are taking it to 30,000 beds. These things take 10 years, because you're talking about huge infrastructure projects being built. And if you look at per capita bed availability, Delhi will become the highest once all of these plans. So we do have a plan. Some of these things take time. But at the same time, we also have in the interim, and I talk about the scheme that we have, that if you do not get treatment in a government hospital, you can avail it from a private hospital. Delhi is the only city, only state that gives this guarantee to a citizen that, if you don't get that treatment in government hospital within a time frame, government will take free of cost and cashless care for you in a private hospital. The problem in COVID is that even private hospitals had a limited capacity. So everything crashed together, and I think,
you talked about the number of beds. I have myself been to Delhi government hospitals.
Yeah.
It's also the quality of healthcare. There, when you compare it with a private hospital, it's still lagging behind. I'm not talking about the doctors, but the crowd over there, or how patients are dealt with, how much you have to wait to see a person, how much time you get with the doctor.
Yeah.
So all these things, when you are comparing the Delhi government schools with private schools and saying that people are moving from government to private schools to government schools, we don't see that sort of a shift happening in the healthcare system.
No. So see, I'll not claim that Delhi's government hospitals can match with the best of the private hospitals. So there is definitely a qualitative improvement that is, but point is, and what I make in this the case in this book is that look at where Delhi was 10 years back. You did not get medicines in hospitals. Today, all our Delhi government hospitals, you go there, we assure that you will get free treatment, you will get free medicines, you will get free tests. Okay, that assurance is there. Now, in certain hospitals, sometimes there are complaints saying that waiting time बढ़ रहा है, घट रहा है. As I said, our target is to reach 30,000 beds. There is clearly a demand-supply gap even as on date. And if there is a demand supply gap, that will look at the quality. One doctor is attending to too many patients. Was it worse 10 years back? Certainly. And that is the accounting of reforms that I have made. But I would say a lot of these initiatives are still in progress. In fact, one of the new initiatives that we have announced, the Sanjeevani scheme, I think it's a historical leap, more of, it's a leap of faith that a government is telling its senior citizens who are above 60 years of age that if you fall ill, the government will pay for your care in any hospital in Delhi, be it private or be it government. So yes, at one side we are improving the quality of our government hospitals, but at the end of the day, it is the assurance of the government that no, we will spend on adequate healthcare, and senior citizens shouldn't be standing in line or waiting for the government hospitals alone if they prefer to go to a private hospital.
Why I brought up the healthcare project is also sector is also because after education, the most outlay from the budget is for the healthcare sector.
That's right.
So the Delhi model, from its theory in book and to its implementation on the ground, what is missing when it comes to healthcare?
No. It is, again, I'm saying, and I did not respond to your one question, saying that you feel that government schools, the students from private schools are moving. Let me tell you, even in the healthcare system, and I make the case that there's an indicator of outpatients, right? Total patients who are visiting the government healthcare system. We have nearly doubled. It used to be around 3 to 4 crores of OPD that the government healthcare system in Delhi had 2015. Today we are at around 6.5 crores. So, and 2 crore of this is only coming from the Mohalla clinics. See, if you look at all what health experts say, 70% of your spending and focus should be on primary and preventive care. Obviously, if there is a serious ailment, people will go to the hospital. The Mohalla clinic, I feel, needs to be appreciated and understood as to what it has done to the average person of Delhi. An average person of Delhi doesn't go to a hospital and get admitted, right? They have some minor ailment, they want to see a doctor or and get the medicines and tests done. That is what the promise of Mohalla clinics is. And today the largest demand for Mohalla clinics is coming from the posh colonies of GK and CR Park, I must tell you, right? So it is, for the first time, a government is offering free primary healthcare at your doorstep for all classes and categories of citizens. Even a good middle class family person can go and feel satisfied that no, I have gotten good quality of care.
Okay.
So yes, I mean, at one side, as I said, on tertiary care, work needs to be done. But what the scale of work that has happened in the primary care, which is what majority of the people experience the healthcare, I feel is remarkable and unprecedented.
Okay. Despite Delhi model, which party chief Kejriwal talked in most of the rallies in the run-up to the last assembly election, still you guys had to, in the end talk about, closer towards the election, talk about asking BJP leaders, can you sing Hanuman Chalisa? Or you have even gone about asking that, demanding that there should be images of Lakshmi and Ganesh printed on currency notes. There are different examples, where you're following a soft Hindutva ideology. So, do you think that to win an election, just a model of developmental model is not enough and you have to have these other policies also?
No, I don't think it's emanating from the fact that winning elections. By the way, the instance of you said Hanuman Chalisa was not, AAP didn't go, like it was an interview, I believe, one of the news channels was having with Mr. Kejriwal, and they asked, can you, right? And well, he is a believer. He is a Hanuman Bhakt.
It didn't stop there. There was press conference after that. He sort of challenged the BJP leaders. I attended those press conferences.
No, so
saying
fine.
that can you sing Hanuman Chalisa?
So point is this. My point is this, that do we believe that religion, political leaders should be disengaged from religion? I don't feel India is a country where political parties or individuals should be disengaged from religion. But should we be using religion as a divisive force to polarize and ask for votes? That is a strict no-no. Anything that the Aam Aadmi, we take pride in the fact, I'm a Jain, I like my religion. Many in my party are Hindus, Christians, Muslims, they like the religion. And if they want to indulge in a display, right, amongst people, because people in our country are very religious. They want to see their leaders being part of their lives. They want to do Hanuman Chalisa ho gaya, ya fir, there are a lot of other functions, and during Diwali, Lakshmi Puja, we've done Lakshmi Puja as part of the government. Why? Because people want to see their leaders active. So there's no harm. Just few days back, by the way, we did a Christmas celebration in Delhi Legislative Assembly. So all the prominent people from the community were there. Point is that we will not say that BJP is the sole proprietor of the Hindu religion. Only BJP and people from BJP have the right to take the name of gods and goddesses. No, we take pride in our religions and the Hindu religion, but we will never use it as a force to divide people or garner votes. And time and again, and I think you, as somebody who's been reporting from Delhi for many years, you will say that today Aam Aadmi Party is the only party that goes and says that vote for us on our work. Vote for us if we have done work. If we have not done work, do not vote for us. So I think the last accusation can be made of party is that, you are putting aside, work and you are asking for votes on something else. I don't think it is.
No, I didn't frame the question also like that. But even now, Kejriwal will be saying like, hum Delhi mein Ram Raj bana rahe hain. So, you have to give your development politics also a religious color to it,
It is not a religious color. I think we need to understand the idiom and the grammar or the language that people understand. If you are sitting with a lens of saying that, okay, I am going to see how many times Ram or something has been said, and therefore the moment you say that you are a Hindutva, I think that's a very rigid way to say whether, what party is trying to use religion as a force. No. Ram Rajya is popular. You say good governance, how many people in Delhi's unauthorized colonies or Juggis will understand even what you're talking about? When you say Ram Rajya, they understand that a better future, where our children will be educated, and we have defined Ram Rajya. We've actually said that there are 10 tenets of Ram Rajya. And for us, Ram Rajya is building a country that all of our people and citizens have equal rights. Right to quality education. Today, if you go to any place outside Delhi, can a poor family dream of having their children become engineers, lawyers, or get good quality education? No. We said number one principle of Ram Rajya is good education, good healthcare. Ask BJP their definition of Ram Rajya. They will never put education in it. They'll never put healthcare in it. They'll probably put a lot of temples. They'll put maybe a lot of bulldozers also. So that is the difference between, using religion as a vote garnering and a polarizing tool versus respecting religion and sentiments of the people.
Okay. Over the last 2 years, I mean, Delhi's governance models, for the benefit of our viewers, is complicated, where the elected government has more restrictions than a full state. For example, the police is with the central government, or the land is with the central government. So what we've seen over the last 2 years, especially over the last 2 years, is frequent run-ins with the lieutenant governor and the elected government. It has been there with the previous lieutenant governors also, but it's sort of peaked right now. And many schemes are getting stuck because of this. So even now, when you want to announce this Mahila Samman Yojana, in which you want to give 1,000 rupees to women, if you notice the last run up to the last 2020 election, you announced at least two schemes: a free bus ride and 200 units of free electricity 6 months before the election, or 8 months before the election. And this time you are struggling to make announcements like that. The Sanjeevani Yojana, you said that you will implement it once if it comes back to power. Same with the 2,100 rupees to women, you're saying that we will increase the 1,000 to 2,100 and implement it once we come to power. So you are facing difficulties in implementing schemes. Even other schemes like the doorstep delivery of services, it was affected in between. I think the electric vehicle policy was not renewed because cabinet decision could not
But all of these are implemented now.
I'm saying the run-ins, you know.
So
let me just finish the question is that, you know, so imagine that the AAP is coming back to power, you know, you're winning the 2024 election, coming back to power. The situation is not going to change. The constitution, the laws are going to remain, the run-ins with the LG is going to remain, which is we are seeing an increase only. There's no decrease in this run-ins or this tussle happening. So how will you implement these promises, or how will you effectively run the government? Basically, how will you, the so-called Delhi model, how will you make it implementable in this current situation?
First, let me tell you that the entire transformation that has happened in Delhi, right, sector by sector, in the last 10 years has happened in the face of tremendous opposition and obstacles that the center has faced. At the end of the day, the case that I make in this book, and that we also tell very proudly in Delhi, is that if you have people with the right intentions and the right political will and priorities in government, work will still happen. This is still the elected government of Delhi. Work will definitely happen. And as you correctly said, yes, the last first 8 years there were run-ins, but still a lot of work got done. I would say that especially the last 1 year, and when our elected Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal ji was put in jail, the kind of attempt and assault that the center and the BJP have done through their investigative agencies, you know, the ED, the CBI, IT, everything was unleashed on AAP with the sole purpose of finishing off AAP. Never in the history of India have we seen that, you know, number 1, number 2, number 3, 4 top leaders of a political party are put in jail. And in a case where there is, you know, no evidence, there's no money recovery because it's a corruption matter being unleashed, the trial is not even begun. Now, in the last 1 year, especially when our chief minister was under jail, I would say that yes, a lot of attempts were made behind his back to stop things.
But
now I'm coming to the answer.
My point is not just your CM being jailed, I mean Kejriwal being jailed, even before that, the 2023 Amendment Act to the GNCTD Act,
all of that is
which
fine.
has restricted the powers, right? So
it is not. It is not.
That situation has not changed even if you're elected back to power.
No, so I was completing my answer that yes, I partially agree that the last 1 year especially has, they have tried to derail a lot of things. But the biggest silver light, and I think this is my message to the voters in Delhi, ever since Arvind Kejriwal ji has come back, right, in September he's come back, you will see almost everything has come back on track. And there is a reason for that, you know. You need leadership to take on a system which wants to break down almost everything. I mean, this is a government, BJP has law and order in its hand. We want them to actually do something for the people of Delhi and come to elections on the basis of their work. They want to derail everything. But our old age pension schemes were stopped. Today they are back. The EV policy was stopped. That's again back. The doorstep delivery has started. We are talking about this Mahila Samman Yojana. They tried to block it and stop it for almost 5 to 6 months. Eventually it implemented. Now the registration
is not start functional.
No, but the point is the cabinet was not able to earlier take decision. The decision has happened. It will all start. Again, I think my message to the voters of Delhi is that the last 1 to 2 years was the worst phase and the worst attack that the elected leadership of AAP has seen. Thankfully and fortunately, that phase is over. This case, the so-called excise policy case, is dead. Today, nothing is being pursued. There is nothing that has come out of it. I do not know for how many years, but this attempt to finish off AAP has ended unsuccessfully. And from now on, ever since Mr. Kejriwal has come out, you would see a lot of positive announcement, lot of positive momentum. And that is the momentum we will sustain. Just today, we are talking about 24th of December. Just today, Mr. Kejriwal launched another huge initiative that we have been working on, which is providing clean drinking water 24/7 directly from your taps. How has this happened? Somebody has worked on it for the last few years. Why has this not happened in any BJP state? So my point is that it is far, far better to elect a government that has the right priorities, has honest, well-educated leaders. Yes, something that may have been done in 3 months may take 4 months or 5 months. But eventually, all our promises will happen, and we have already started showing that it started happening.
Okay. Lastly, I want to ask, and it may come out a little ironic, the Delhi model, do you think it may work successfully only outside Delhi? In a full state where, the state government has powers, and it can never be successful in Delhi, where this frequent run-ins and restrictions and where...
No, I think the Delhi model has been born in Delhi. And one of the...
That's why I said successfully implemented.
Successfully, no. I feel the story of the Delhi model is one of hope. That if even a partial state whose leadership is under attack, whose powers have been restrained, can achieve such transformative changes in just 1 decade, then there is no reason why a state outside Delhi, my case would be जो हमने दिल्ली में 10 साल में किया, probably an outside state should be able to do it in 5 years or 7 years. I would look at it in that way. That yes, it'll be easier to do many of the reforms that we have done in Delhi, but the fact that Delhi has done this, which no other state in India has done for the last 70 years, shows that, almost all the governments, it's a huge wasted opportunity. So much more can be done, and I think it's up to our voters to demand. Look, here's a government. We didn't talk about electricity, but look, here's a government that provides 24/7 electricity and has not managed to increase its tariffs for 10 years. No government in India has managed to do this. Here's a government that has brought world-class public transport system. Here's a government that's taking action on air pollution, on health, on education. So I feel it's a story of hope and optimism. And the crucial ingredient here is not a full or a partial state, it's political will. It's the people, it's an ideology of governance that focuses on building our human capital, on investing on issues that affect the day-to-day lives of our people, and not doing these, jumlas and showing big grand projects which have probably nothing to do with the daily lives.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking. Yeah.